Welcome back to Difficult Case. Today's case is one that shocked Florida and left many people asking one question. How could something like this happen?
911, tell me.
911, what's your emergency?
Are you right by her now? Fire rescue's on the way. They're coming as fast as they can.
There was so much blood that when you looked at her, you didn't think that she was wearing any clothes.
Listen, you don't want that as your last memory.
Imagine returning to your apartment after what seemed like a normal day, completely unaware that someone may have been waiting for you. According to prosecutors, this wasn't a random act of violence. They argued it was a planned attack driven by jealousy, one that crossed state lines and ended in a heartbreaking tragedy. The victim was 23-year-old Kayla Hodgson, a young woman known by friends and co-workers as hardworking, outgoing, and full of life. She was building her future when everything changed in an instant. At first, investigators had very few answers.
This is Tamarack, Florida. It's a very peaceful suburb of Fort Lauderdale. In fact, my grandma used to live there.
Tamarack, Florida, in Broward County, is very family-oriented.
It's a fairly quiet area of Broward.
There were no obvious witnesses, and the motive wasn't immediately clear. But as detectives reviewed surveillance footage, examined phone records, and followed digital evidence, they uncovered a trail that would eventually lead them to a suspect hundreds of miles away. Was Kayla being watched before the attack? What evidence helped investigators solve the case?
She live alone? No, with her mom, but her mom is a flight attendant. No one there.
How do you have access to the house?
I can't. Don't touch anything. Okay. Exactly the way they are. This 911 caller, Rivelto Robinson, shows first responders to his girlfriend's apartment, 23-year-old Kayla Hodgson.
What number?
How did you get access?
I don't have access.
Was Kayla being watched before the attack? One of the most chilling questions in this case is whether Kayla Hodgson was being watched before she was killed. Prosecutors argued that the attack was not random. Their theory was that Sakiyna Thompson traveled from New York to South Florida after learning that Kayla was dating Thompson's former boyfriend. According to the prosecution, Thompson planned the encounter in advance and took steps to avoid being identified, including using a fake Uber account, wearing a face mask and a hat, and traveling to and from Kayla's apartment while trying to conceal her identity. Some media reports described the evidence as suggesting Kayla's movements were being tracked before the attack. However, there was no public evidence presented that Thompson had been secretly stalking Kayla for days or weeks, in the way some other high-profile stalking cases have involved. Instead, the prosecution's case focused on a planned trip, the deliberate confrontation at Kayla's apartment around 5 a.m., and the efforts allegedly made to hide Thompson's identity. So, while prosecutors portrayed the crime as planned, the publicly reported evidence does not establish that Kayla was under prolonged surveillance before the attack.
Bedrooms and the bathrooms, they found Kayla's dog in one of the bedrooms, and they exited the apartment and alerted the homicide detectives.
We ultimately got the call to respond out and take over the investigation.
About a year.
Is it girlfriend, ex-girlfriend?
No, it's like
Messing around?
Yeah, we're messing around. No.
What evidence helped investigators solve the case? Detectives built their case by combining many different pieces of evidence rather than relying on a single smoking gun.
There appears to
According
be
to prosecutors,
drag marks in
investigators
blood.
traced Thompson's
And
travel from
where
New York
the
to
drag
Florida.
marks led, that's what led to the top of Kayla's head. And Kayla was on the floor. She was incredibly bloody. There was so much blood that when you looked at her, you didn't think that she was wearing any clothes, but she in fact did have a robe on, but the robe was fully soaked in blood, so it just looked like more blood.
Analyzed rideshare records showing she allegedly used a fake Uber account to travel between her hotel and Kayla's apartment, and gathered surveillance footage that showed a person wearing a hat and face mask consistent with the prosecution's theory that Thompson attempted to disguise herself. Investigators also examined phone records, digital evidence, and forensic evidence collected from the crime scene. During the trial, prosecutors argued that these pieces taken together demonstrated planning and premeditation rather than a spontaneous confrontation. The defense, however, challenged that interpretation and argued there was no evidence Thompson brought a weapon with her, maintaining that the violence occurred during a fight after Kayla voluntarily allowed Thompson into the apartment. Like many modern homicide investigations, the case relied heavily on technology. Surveillance cameras, rideshare data, travel records, and digital evidence helped detectives reconstruct the events leading up to the killing.
You went in the van, sir. Can I help you up?
When law enforcement is investigating and preserving a crime scene, they have to be able to work, and kind of had to help the family member up and escort them away so they could keep working on Kayla's death.
What did the jury decide? After hearing testimony and reviewing the evidence, the jury rejected the defense's claim that Thompson acted in lawful self-defense. In October 2025, jurors found Sakiyna Thompson guilty of first-degree murder. By reaching that verdict, the jury concluded that the prosecution had proved the elements of first-degree murder beyond a reasonable doubt.
You don't want that as your last memory, I promise. I promise, you don't want that as your last memory.
During closing arguments, prosecutors described the killing as a deliberate act driven by jealousy, while the defense argued Thompson feared for her life and the life of her unborn child after a confrontation inside the apartment escalated into violence. The jury ultimately accepted the prosecution's version of events and returned a guilty verdict. For Kayla Hodgson's family, the verdict marked the end of a long legal process, though it could never erase the loss of their daughter, sister, and friend. The case also demonstrated how modern investigations increasingly depend on digital evidence to establish timelines and connect suspects to a crime.
Apartment.
The number of stab wounds, the location of the stab wounds, the fact that she had defensive wounds, she was fighting back, that meant that the attacker, the murderer, was someone who was acting with a vengeance. Really, this type of crime implies that it was done out of anger, heat of passion, or in the moment.
The crime scene itself is extremely bloody. It is clear that there was some sort of struggle that happened inside Kayla's apartment.
The things you noticed was the dog had some blood on its paws, which gave us the impression that it was obviously out when this attack occurred and someone had put him...
Before we end today's video, I want to leave you with one important message. Cases like this remind us that danger doesn't always come from a stranger. Sometimes it comes from someone who knows you, or someone quietly watching your routine. While we can't live in fear, we can all take steps to protect ourselves. Stay aware of your surroundings, trust your instincts, and don't ignore suspicious behavior. Be careful about sharing your location or daily routine on social media, and always let someone you trust know where you are if you're meeting someone or traveling alone. Remember, your safety is more important than being polite. If something doesn't feel right, leave the situation and seek help. Trust your instincts. They're often there for a reason. Our thoughts and prayers are with Kayla Hodgson's family and everyone affected by this heartbreaking tragedy. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this case informative and want to see more true crime stories and difficult cases, please subscribe to Difficult Case, give this video a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss our next upload. Also, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read your comments, and I'd love to hear your perspective on this case. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll see you in the next difficult case.